Support for this podcast comes from listeners and St. Alphonsus Health System, a regional network of hospitals, clinics, and care providers. St. Alphonsus offers comprehensive healthcare services to individuals and families throughout the community. More information about services and locations is available at stalphonsus.org.
From Boise State Public Radio, this is The Connector. It's Idaho's Daily News. Good morning. I'm George Prentice. This morning we'll tell you about the latest session of Idaho's DOGE task force, and we'll check in with a local coffee roaster on this National Coffee Day. It is Monday, the 29th of September, and here we go with today's stories. From 1942 to 1945, 13,000 Japanese Americans were imprisoned by the U.S. government at the Minidoka concentration camp outside of Jerome. On Friday, the National Historic Site launched a restoration project. Julie Licata was there.
Today, most of the barbed wire fences around the camp are gone, but the empty barracks remain standing, surrounded by dry grassland and windswept skies. The project will help recreate the day-to-day of those incarcerated. South Idaho Park Superintendent Wade Vegas says updates include stabilizing barracks, adding tar paper siding, and furnishing the buildings with historical artifacts.
That could be things like Army surplus cots, wool blankets, single overhead light bulb on a strand. Again, we want to be able to accurately depict what the lived experience was here.
Friends of Minidoka Robin Achilles says this renovation will help visitors feel the weight of America's heavy history.
Walking in there as a descendant of incarceration, it's so powerful to be able to feel what it was like for my grandparents and my parents to live under these conditions.
Craters of the Moon and Hagerman Fossil Beds National Monuments also received legacy restoration funds through the Great American Outdoors Act of 2020. Since the law passed, national parks across the U.S. have received $6.5 billion in funds, set to expire at the end of the month. Julie Licata, Boise State Public Radio News.
And as we approach the final day of September, we're also approaching the end of a fiscal year at midnight Tuesday, and the White House Budget Office expects agencies and departments, including Defense, Education, Health and Human Services, Veterans Affairs, to prepare for a possible shutdown. Every corner of the federal government will feel pain in some way if a compromise is not reached by midnight tomorrow. Meanwhile, Idaho lawmakers will be meeting at the State House today to consider cuts to state agencies and departments. It will be the latest session of Idaho's own DOGE task force. Co-chair GOP House Representative Jeff Ehlers says the task force, modeled after the federal government's Department of Government Efficiency, focuses on three key areas.
Which is looking at agencies and divisions and departments for reduction, consolidation, or elimination. Second, looking at state employees for efficiencies and other things. And third, looking at state travel.
On today's agenda, the panel gets an update on Governor Brad Little's recent order to state agencies that they must permanently cut an additional 3% from their budgets for the new fiscal year. The task force will also be examining Idaho's work-from-home policies, plus Medicaid, unfilled job positions, and much more. Today's session gets underway at 2 p.m. This is National Coffee Day, and while retailers are pushing out deals or discounts today, we should also note that it is an industry under a very wide and long shadow of tariffs. Earlier this year, we visited one of the region's biggest roasters, importing coffee from across the globe.
So I'm bringing in Central America, South America, Africa, Asia, basically anywhere in that coffee belt I'm sourcing from. So it's 15 degrees north and south of the equator is where coffee likes to grow.
This is Aaron Nelson, general manager at Dawson Taylor at their downtown Boise roasting operation. They roast something like 135,000 pounds of coffee in a year.
I think the biggest challenge for small business is that it's changing so rapidly, it's hard to keep up with. Every day is a challenge, and the tariffs certainly would not help that.
Reuters is reporting this morning that coffee is one of the items keeping food prices in the U.S. persistently high As an example, there's a 50% tariff on Brazilian imports, including green coffee. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, last month, roasted coffee prices at grocery stores in the U.S. rose 20% when compared to a year ago. And that is today's episode of The Connector. I'm George Prentice. We'll see you back here on Tuesday. To stay in touch with the news between now and then, check out BoiseStatesPublicRadio.org and tell your friends and family about The Connector and how they can find it wherever they find their favorite podcasts. For now, to you, thanks for listening.
It's rare to find a podcast that can actually change your life. But when the show's called Life Kit, that's kind of the whole point. I'm Mariel Segarra. 3 times a week on the Life Kit podcast, we guide you through a topic we could all use help with, from personal development to healthy living to managing your dinero, with takeaways so you can start living what you learn right away. Escucha el Life Kit podcast from NPR.